socio-economic progress through connectivity, particularly in this region. So I'd like to call on to this panel with me Ali Anafia from the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, Pepe Theo Vidal from Amazon Project Kuiper, and Jong Bong Park from the APT. So please join me on stage, gentlemen. And as we, as I'm waiting for my gentleman to join me here on the panel, a couple of figures, because we've heard a lot in the last couple of days and this morning about business, right? It's how we are going to finance, how we're going to invest, what are the business cases, business models. But we should also keep in mind that the end game is really providing connectivity, whether it's to governments, to enterprises, but in particular to users as well. And if we look at the situation in the world right now, we have 2.6 billion people that are still not online. And what I would like this panel to discuss is a little bit how we're going to really use satellite communications. What do we think is the role of satellite communications in helping bring these people online? How we're going to help bridge the digital divide, not only digital, but I think digital, economic, gender, socio-divide that we're seeing still in so many countries around the world. And in particular, how we can help deliver connectivity in underserved and unserved communities or in remote areas of the world. So we'll discuss a little bit of the strategies, the emerging trends, and also how policies, around in this region can help that. So I might start maybe with Ali. When we look at, ahead into innovation, so how do you think satellite communications, particularly in this region, but also in your country, in Malaysia, can really help enhance socio-economic opportunities in remote areas, and in which field, whether it's health, education, financial services, agriculture? So over to you, Ali.
Thank you, Isabel. First and foremost, I would like to thank APSCC for inviting the MCMC for APSCC 2024. For some of you who are not familiar with MCMC, or the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, we are the regulator for the communications and multimedia sector within the country. So with regards to the question just now, one of our main tasks is actually to provide connectivity to throughout the country, which includes the rural and also remote areas as well. When we first started with building towers, building towers, and then providing, when we first started it was 2G, then we evolved into 3G, and then 4G, and now we are going into 5G. And building towers takes time. And of course, there's also CAPEX as well, the capital expenditure as well. So when you really go into the rural or remote end, then you start to think whether building towers will be the right way of extending the communications to the communities or the rural folks. So what we are doing right now is that we have a target of connecting 100% of the populated areas within the country until the end of 2025. Today, we are at 98.3% 4G COPA coverage over populated areas. And the last 2% or 3% is the most challenging one. So this is where we will need satellite to help us. So what we have seen so far is that we've done some communities where we have connected communities through free Wi-Fi access, where the backhaul is through satellite. And right now we are doing something else, which is still providing towers, but the towers, they utilize satellite as their backhaul connectivity. So we have tried with Geo, we have tried with Leo technology, and it's immaterial, as what one of the panel sessions that we had yesterday is that consumers is immaterial to them as long as they have the connectivity. And it's not in some areas it's not about one-to-one or personal connectivity, it's actually wiring up the whole community. So it could be a center that we are providing through satellite backhaul and providing Wi-Fi through mesh Wi-Fi connectivity that will actually give coverage to the whole village. And it could also be through a tower, and the tower is connected in a way, in a network in a way that a bigger population of the village will get the coverage. And obviously, this will also, once you have the infrastructure, the next thing to do is what will go on the infrastructure. So this is where we introduce e-tuition and telehealth, that kind of thing. And also we provide them short courses with regards to digital economy. So these are the rural folks that they do handcrafts, but they don't know where to sell. So we teach them how to market their products online, and also how they can actually get their raw materials sent to them online as well. So in certain areas, they've seen they have actually increased their income from twofold or even threefold. So it depends on the areas and depends on the products that they are selling. So it's a big agenda. So we just started. So hopefully we'll be able to grow further and extend further. So I just stop there for the moment.
Thank you, and very interesting because you mentioned as well 5G, and I think, one of the things, I don't know, I think we touched upon it yesterday as well, is this integration that we are seeing really of satellite being integrated into 5G and into 6G even from the nascent state. And I think that's where we will see a lot of interesting opportunities to bringing not just bare connectivity and calls to community in remote areas, but also advanced services, IoT, which will fundamentally change, agriculture and financial services and entrepreneurship in remote areas. But Jongbong, giving us maybe a broader, we got a very good picture of Malaysia, more broadly in the region. What do you see in terms of the role of satellites in helping increase connectivity in this region?
Thank you, Isabel. Good afternoon, everyone. I also join Ali to appreciate APSCC to invite APT to join this event. Those who are not familiar with APT as a Pacific Community, before answering your question, I'd like to introduce as a Pacific Community. This is APT who is looking after ICT sector in the Asia Pacific region. We based in Bangkok, in Thailand, and we have 38 member administration in the region, and we also have 140 affiliate members who are the industry, including satellite. APT provides a forum for discussing policy and regulatory issues, and then APT also provides some certain development projects and the capacity building, and then we also provide a platform to coordinate the regional voices in Spectrum and other places into the ITU conferences and assembly. So we also have some technical group deals with satellite and mobile, which is the APT wireless group and standardization program. We develop the recommendation and the report. Isabel, coming back to your question, APT, we provide a platform for members to share what are the challenges, what are the achievements in deploying the satellite. We observe certain cases, for instance, healthcare. There are some big progress in Vanuatu. They are calling at vital projects. As you understand, Vanuatu is scattered throughout the ocean. It's quite diverse. It's scattered in the ocean, around 80 small islands. So for small island residents, they cannot travel to the capital to have the proper healthcare services. So in Vanuatu, they deploy a certain satellite broadband connectivity to the healthcare center to provide some healthcare services, constant healthcare services in the citizens, like remote diagnosis, emergency consultation, and the real-time advice to the healthcare workers. And then those communication channels works during the disaster occurs. Similar situation happened in Marshall Island and then Micronesia countries connecting to the Hawaii hospital in USA. When it comes to education, also there are lots of progress. We have a delegate from CASPIC this morning. CASPIC provides some low-cost and high-speed internet to unserved area in Fiji, Indonesia, Nepal, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, and several other countries in the Pacific. The low-cost and high-speed internet to provide some online learning platform and the educational resources. And the Philippines also have a program for Mindanao, Access Mindanao. Mindanao is one of the island in the Philippines. They are not able to access the proper institutional arrangement, so they provide an online platform to the local villagers. And in terms of the finance, also, if there is no proper traditional banking infrastructure, they provide some satellite-based internet to access the digital finance and mobile banking. In the area of disaster management, emergency communications, there are lots of development in the region. For instance, like real-time monitoring, rapid post-disaster assessment, and the emergency communications as well by using satellite. In terms of the agriculture and fisheries, there are also many projects running in terms of monitor crop health, manage water resources, optimize yield through the precision agriculture. And when it comes to fishery, also satellite helps tracking fish population, water patterns, and weather patterns, and the illegal fishing activities by using those satellite help. And then the other day, one of the UN agency dealing with the humanitarian activity, UNHCR, came to APT forum, and then they convinced the regulator to provide the proper access, connectivity to refugee camp. So refugee camp, they require certain accessibility, and then UNHCR also requires certain operational archive through the internet. But refugee camp, there is no proper connectivity for the humanitarian purpose.
Thank you. I think always very important to remember the role that we have as satellite, not only for humanitarian purposes, for refugees and displacements, but also in terms of crisis, natural disasters. As we know, the networks usually go down, and that's on the hands of the satellite industry. You also touched upon, both of you, on 3 points. I think when we talk about bringing people online, the 3 main barriers are access, which we seem to focus on, but it's also usability, and you mentioned capacity building, and I think that is really crucial, and affordability. And I'll come back to affordability later to you, Pepe, because I want to touch upon that. That for now, we've heard a lot about the use cases that Malaysia and other countries around the world are having. Project Kuiper, you've invested, I think, if I'm not wrong, 10 billion people in building your constellation. Surely you think there must be a business case out there, in particular in this region. So how do you think, what are the services that, you think LEO can bring on top of what is already in the market, and how is satellite broadband, particularly through LEO constellations, going to help bridge this digital divide and accelerate connectivity? Give us a bit of an insight of where you stand in terms of strategy.
Absolutely, and thank you. As the co-panelists have said, thank you to APSCC, and thank you, Isabel, for the wonderful questions. I think both Ali and John Bong have touched on very relevant topics, and I think I will repeat them, but from my perspective, from the satellite's perspective. And in a way, satellite broadband really does provide a transformative opportunity for underserved and unserved communities around the world. unlike previously available infrastructure, which can be expensive to deploy, as we've seen in geographically challenging and remote areas, satellite does offer this unique ability to rapidly expand network access and connectivity across these regions. And these opportunities can really be easily broken down to 4 main topics, which I think my co-panelists have already mentioned. But I would start with democratization of access to information and services, catalyzing on economic development of every one of the nations that really gets access to the internet and the connectivity, disaster relief, a main, I would say, example. And in recent years, we've seen that how LEO connectivity has provided that solution that is very much needed in times of complete wipeout. And then lastly, complementing existing infrastructure, which I think Isabel has mentioned, and also Ali, which is working together with both the existing network operators and the current solutions. At the end of the day, there are 2, maybe 3 billion people that are unconnected. I think the figures that I play with usually is that 3.6 billion people are at least 25 kilometers away from fiber connectivity. And the value in terms of figures from the IT perspective that they mentioned, I think 420 plus million, I think the currency might be USD or pounds, but there's a huge economical gap that not a single operator, not a single technology will be able to really bridge. And it's this cooperation that I think comes in featurously and like a really opportunistic for what we've seen as a trend that is happening. So from our perspective, from Kuiper, really, that first item, democratization of services and access to info, is education. All of a sudden with satellite, you're bringing online education, you're bringing remote education to those villages or islands or remote areas. Healthcare with telemedicine, incredibly fast patient to doctor solutions, and even operations at the end of the day when the technology really is there. And banking, online banking, government services, all of those things fall inside that first category. And the second one, really the business entrepreneurial spirit that not only relies on developed countries, but it relies on human nature. Once you really enable that access to technology, you're giving that access to global markets of small businesses and manufacturers. You're also giving farmers the ability to access technology to monitor the crops and give access to better distribution and all that entails. And at the end of the day, entrepreneurship on its own core, or have it be small hubs within villages or islands or community spots that have now access to the internet, that small businesses can cooperate between them and cooperate with the government also. Having those access points, I think, is one of the solutions that satellite brings. And now narrowing it down to really what Kuiper might bring in is that solution on its own. For those that might be unfamiliar with the project itself, Project Kuiper is a high-speed, low-latency LEO constellation of satellites that, through this service offering, we're leveraging the LEO technology to access a wide range of clients, have that be individuals, households, governments, enterprises. At the end of the day, we aim to make this opportunity available and a reality for millions of people. So that's my quick but not so quick take.
No, that's interesting, and I think the integration again is something really important to note. I think we've said it many times. Like this 2.6 billion have not been connected by satellite operators. They've not been connected by terrestrial. So the incentive hasn't been there. There are a lot of geographic barriers, but also economic barriers. So I think as we look ahead, this model of integrating both networks together is going to be crucial. There are going to be a lot of challenges. We discussed a lot of D2D, and I don't know how D2D is something that maybe Malaysia is also envisioning, in your strategy. There are still a lot of regulatory challenges. We heard Mario from the ITU on Tuesday that we need to work together. But I think one of the things that is going to be crucial on that model is both industries finding the business model that is going to make sense on both sides. You know, and I just mentioned this as a parenthèse, as a bracket, because having worked in the mobile industry for a very long time, I think where the mobile industry went wrong 15 years ago is that they didn't sit at the table to speak with the OTTs about what model, you know, the Google of this world and Meta and Facebook at the time, on how they were going to charge for transporting, you know, their capacity on their networks. And 15 years later, they're still fighting and still, you know, trying to find a business model. And I think this is a time for us as satellite operator to sit with the mobile community and really discuss what business model is going to be made. So, you know, I hope we just signed a cooperation agreement with GSMA, and I hope that as GSOA, and I hope that we can figure, you know, that out. But maybe, I don't know, I'm looking at Sunny if we want to take time to get questions maybe before we move on to the next questions. So question from the floor. Many of the unconnected have very limited financial resources. Are these 2.6 billion persons going to have their access paid by government? Ali, maybe that's one for you here. What's the thinking behind that in Malaysia?
Okay, for the case of Malaysia, in terms of how we are providing the financial resources is we basically work together with the service providers, and we do pay the infrastructure rollout to a certain extent. If most of the infrastructure has been paid by the government, then we would expect that to be transferred to the users, to the subscribers. So if you get your capex already paid by the government, you should not be charging the subscribers. That could be one way of looking into it. But we've also seen that in certain cases, if the public, sometimes they don't really appreciate free services. When they get something for free, they tend to abuse it, you know, that kind of thing. So what we have done so far is a mixture of both. There will be those which is free services, but to a certain capacity, certain data quota. If you need more than that, then you have to subscribe to coupons or, you know, vouchers, that kind of thing. But it's still something which is we can work together between the government and also the service providers. The challenge is when you go into rural areas, not many of the players want to go. So the government has to come in and provide some kind of subsidies or assistance. And as I mentioned just now, when you go down to the rural areas, it's not so much about personal communications. It's actually extending the communications to the community. It's like a group kind of access to the communities there. So yes, there's some form of subsidies or financial resources that is being provided by the government for the case of Malaysia.
Thank you. John, you want to add?
Yes, I wish that, like Malaysia, there are many cases in the Asia-Pacific region to support the government to roll out those connectivity. The other day, there is a session on Thailand case. In Thailand, there is a Net Prachara project rolling out all the broadband connectivity to the local villages, more than 27,000 villages, by providing the infrastructure from the government, MBTC and MDES, together with TOT and others. Those are the initiatives of the government. They bear all the costs to reach out all the community, rolling out all the services. Some other cases, they use some universal service fund to support mobile operators to reach out the local villages. In many cases, in Asia-Pacific region.
Thank you. And that before works that you think should be put in place, or are maybe put in place, and best practices that are already working, that are really going to help foster, you know, investment from industry. You were mentioning, you know, we need returns, right? Industry does not do charity work; like they need return on their investments. What can be done, you know, more from the governments and policymakers to increase connectivity, to reduce the digital divide, and at the same time really foster increased investment. Ali, maybe?
Okay. What I can see is that we really need to have some kind of policy. I mean, Jombong just now mentioned about universal service provisioning. Yes, in Malaysia we also have the universal service regime or the regulations where there is a so-called universal service fund that is been administered by the MCMC. The way we do it is that the funds are collected from the service providers, from the licensees, but when we roll out the project, it's going to be given back to them. So it's a win-win kind of situation. They contribute to the fund, but by the end of the day, when they roll out the projects, they will also get the fund to utilize the funds to roll out the projects. What we see is that the best thing to do is some kind of a PPP, public-private partnership. So by the end of the day, even though the funding comes from the government, the infrastructure belongs to the private side, belongs to the telcos, belong to the service providers. So there will be something that they will get towards the end of the day. We provide both CAPEX and OPEX, also the operating expenditure, but to a certain period of time, maybe for the first 5 years, or maybe up to 6 years and so forth, until the site becomes doable. It's something that is commercially can be run, and then we can stop the OPEX and we can go for other sites. So I think in terms of policy, the best thing for us to do is a public-private partnership for the moment. Yeah.
And do you think there are incentives that may go beyond that, such as reducing taxation, like reducing tax, more effective management of spectrum, and are there any other areas that you are looking at as well?
We did reduce the taxes some time back, but that is just to start off with. But right now, the incentives comes in the form of spectrum. That is something that is within us, and we know that the sub 1 gigahertz band spectrum can actually propagate even further and mostly used in the rural areas. So these are the spectrum that we won't be charging as a premium to the service providers. And again, what we see is that there must be a mixture between the telcos and also those who are providing the satellite connectivity, so that the services are extended to the rural areas, and minimum deployment time for the rollout is being done.
John, what is the trend that you see in the overall region in policies providing incentives to grow connectivity?
Yes, thank you, Isabel. In terms of the spectrum first, in terms of spectrum, some cases like Bhutan and Maldives, they don't charge any spectrum fee.
Nobody?
No. Yeah, no one.
Satellite, mobile?
No one. Okay. So spectrum is given free to the mobile operator and satellite operator, because as you can understand, Bhutan and Maldives has a difficult situation in terms of rolling out the connectivity. So they open the services to anyone, and then of course they need to charge annual fee, but there is no spectrum fee at all. So I think those are the incentive for industry to come and assist the countries to rolling out the broadband connectivity. And then when it comes to policy and regulation, I wish to highlight some harmonization, the policy in the region. So LEO has come to our region, and then LEO start to negotiate with APT members. What are the terms and conditions of LEO? And then D2D is also arising. So our members need to understand what are the implications of D2D in certain days. But our members are not ready to provide the proper licensing at the moment. So what APT is doing is to invite MCMC to share their challenges and achievement in providing license. And then also together with GSUA, and someday we will organize the workshop to the policymakers and regulators. What are the best practices in licensing for satellite? Inviting all the regulators and policymakers together with the industry to discuss the common challenges and issues. That's what APT plans to do.
Good. I think best practice exchange is probably one of the best, but you mentioned a very good case as well, that there is no one silver bullet for everything. Like, the Maldives and Bhutan proves that you have to adapt as well to the needs of the local, situation. But I just want to go back. I mentioned the three factors of connectivity, which is the barriers, which is, we said, access, usability, and affordability. What is the strategy for a company like Kuiper going into the market when you're going to launch? Surely you have already figured out, what's going to be the entry point in different regions of the world. What is it that you're doing in terms of strategy to bring prices down? Are prices really going down? Because we are still seen by so many policymakers around the world as a niche market, which is very expensive. So the trend is changing, but are we doing a good job enough? And what can companies like Kuiper, new entrants, bring to the market?
Absolutely, and I think it is maybe obvious from my perspective, but soon to be obvious to the entire world, that there is a perspective shift. There is a change, and from the satellite perspective, we're playing, and we hope to be soon playing a crucial role in this global connectivity through. This change is driven by technology advancements and global recognition that is coming up as other LEO players and the satellite industry in the LEO segment is bringing solutions readily available. And this shift is due to better satellite performance, lower latency, higher speeds, advancements in the design that allow us for more efficient, smaller sats, and even mass production, which I'll come back to. And then ground equipment also evolving. All this to say the shift is happening. I think from our opinion, it's obvious we got into the business, but then in the end is how do you make it make sense monetarily? How do you make it affordable? And that's where the strategies come in, which is economies of scale, making mass production, opening factories that build satellites in a row. That's something that Kuiper's doing. Also, local partnerships and distribution networks utilizing the local entities that exist. Developing flexible service plans is maybe somewhat of an example from John Bond, but tailor-fitting to local economies what is that might be working there, might be needed there. And also exploring hybrid solutions with the currently existing operations. That's ways to bring the cost down, and I think at the end of the day is how much are you asking the subscription, or how much is your terminal going to cost, and those have been core items of the design of our system, I think.
So let me ask you something which might be a bit provocative, and if you can't respond, that's fine as well. But we've heard a lot about vertical integration. So do you think this ability that you will have to enter the market at a lower entry point in terms of pricing, the economies of scale that you were mentioning, is that something just for the vertically integrated big companies, or is it something where you think others will also be able to compete? Because in your case, you don't build and launch rockets, but we know some other players that do, but you still have your manufacturing, so do you think we will see two layers of LEO constellations in terms of price points, etc.?
I think
if you can't as Kuiper, maybe you want to answer as Pepe, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll try to answer as Pepe. I don't know how much Kuiper would allow me to say or opinionate, but there is I think time will tell. I don't think the intention is to divide and create a division. I think there needs to be a thought of infrastructure as a whole and thinking of what is available to any. And mass production doesn't necessarily have to be limited to those. We've seen with launching that that is also available to others. I think that's very good example, maybe.
And I just see a question that has come for you, I guess. When will Kuiper be fully available in Asia? 24/7 coverage.
I welcome the anonymous person to reach me after the meeting, and we can speak about it.
So you know what Pepe looks like, whoever asked that question. So during the coffee break, you may. Listen, thank you so much. I know we still had another question, but surely you can address it in the, in the coffee break. I hope to see you in, APSCC in 5 years' time, and it won't be 2.6 billion people, but we'll have coverage to the entirety of the world. So thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you.